Hey there, fight fans. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this episode of Combat Sports Talk. Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the entire Combat Sports Talk crew. We've got John with the keys to victory keys.
Hello, everybody. Man, we have got a show for you tonight. We're bringing the fire. The hotness.
All right. We got Kalechi KC Onyebuchi.
What up? I have to give John a shout out real quick because you are looking svelte today, sir. I see.
All right. And we've got George G Money Stalwart.
Panda.
Oh my God.
I don't even know what's happening. The jump of our show right now is just wow.
I have no idea what that is, but I'm not going to ask either.
I got a new hoodie in. What had happened was I have a new hoodie in, and it's all pandas. If you go to my story on Facebook or Instagram, you'll see me in my new hoodie.
Okay.
Oh,
What is your Instagram, by the way?
Darkside _ Muay Thai _
There it is. All right. Well, before we get into the show, we have to talk about what happened was. Like I should have had a drop that just says what had happened was, because we had complete plans to do the show. And we were like, oh, well, Monday night, it's snowing, it's real rough. We're not going to be able to do the show. We'll be back Tuesday night. No. Mother Nature said no. Having a show in Dallas with Snowpocalypse 2021, we were done for. Rolling blackout started, at least for some of us, and then and then the next thing you know, we're midweek and we still don't have electricity. So that's what happened to us. Snowpocalypse, ERCOT. That's our Electric Reliability Council of Texas.
all right. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
We did consider doing the show from Cancun.
Oh, yes. You know what? Here's a funny thing. My neighbor just down the street went to Cancun, and I'm like, hey, keep your eye out for Ted Cruz.
Right?
So,
you mean? Down there, he's
Rafael. Oh, so it was a tough time. For me, the most frustrating thing was at night during the rolling blackouts, because we had all the candles, and the only candles we had were Advent candles. So
like they had to be religious or something.
That's the only candles we had. So we're sitting here. The sun set, the lights go out, so we're sitting here lighting candles like it's time for Christmas. Then 30 minutes later, the lights come back on, so we blow them out, and by the time we blow them out, the lights are out again, so we got to relight them. So it was just lighting candles and blowing them out. The kids were having a great time because it was like their birthday.
Loving it, man.
So anybody else have any? Yeah, well, yeah, it was not bad we already keep our house relatively cold. So like the normal temperature in our house is like 68.
Oh my God.
So it's
the temperature you're supposed to sleep at.
Yeah, so that's typical temperature here during the wintertime is like 68 in here anyway. Now the temperature did get down to 54 in our house, but we just added layers and bundled up and rode through it. Anybody else have any snowpocalypse stories?
Not major, man. I had the rolling blackouts and bouts of no water for a minute. The only reason I had no water was in the apartment complex I live in, somebody's pipe burst down on the first floor. But nothing I couldn't deal with. It's not my first time ever being in a snowstorm.
Well, the worst thing that happened here was our outside unit had actually iced over, and when I first saw it, I was just like, "Oh, it's a little snow. It's no problem." And then my girlfriend actually looked out there. She's like, "No, it's actually iced over." And that was the big scare. Like, if that goes out, then there's our heat, and we're done. Yeah. And thankfully, I think the fact that it iced over early actually protected from the worst type of weather that we got, because it iced over, like, I think it was like Sunday, and by Tuesday and Wednesday was the worst of it. So I was like, I was pretty confident that everything was good. But other than that, my stove almost blew up the house. Yeah, that was that. Okay, because just that, and because I turned on the stove and I walked off, and then I heard something that sounded like a transformer blowing, and because I have an electric stove.
Prime, or was it Bumblebee?
It was like it was. You remember when Megatron snatched Ironside and ripped him in half? It was that noise, and I was like, and I turned around like, what is that? And I saw this bright light in the oven part, and I was like, oh gee, I may want to turn that off. So I run over there in my EOD way, and I turn it off, and I open it up to look inside because I have no sense. And, once again, EOD, and I'm looking at it, and the element had literally cracked on the bottom. And I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, we made it. Now we got a new stove. So, yeah.
Nice.
There's that.
Nice. Now, Kalechi, were you holding it down for us Texans? Because I'm sure that people from Colorado were talking a lot of smack about Texas struggling in the snow.
You'd actually be surprised. I think most Texans are.
Now we got
who's someone listening to the show while we're all doing the show?
Who's guilty?
What happened was Coach G Money over here trying to pull us up.
Okay.
All right.
I feel like most people in Colorado are actually from Texas or surrounding areas. So like, it's just an understanding that when you guys get a snowstorm there, what's really the problem is that you get ice, and that makes travel crazy. And I mean, we don't really talk trash about Texans. We talk trash about the governing parts of Texas, but we can't really, we've got our own craziness here too. So we can't talk too much trash. So I mean, honestly, we were, most people I know, we were just, we got down to -11 a couple of days. So that was rough, but I mean, I had fun with it. I was out in the mountains making some turns on the slopes. So, you can't keep a good man down.
Okay.
All right. All right. So there is your briefing on the snowpocalypse here in Texas. Snowmageddon. We're calling it snowpocalypse. So we'll save Snowmageddon for the next time this happens in 30 years. But yeah, Snowpocalypse 2021. There it is. Now let's kind of get back into what we normally do. So is we have a little bit of fun trivia from John Keys to Victory. So what do you have for us tonight, John Keys?
Well, since it's the last Monday of Black History Month, I've decided to forego the Jamaican bobsleds team in spite of last week. I was going to do that, but instead I found something that was really interesting. Let's talk about Vero Small. Okay, Vero Small was a collar and elbow wrestler and a boxer from back in the 19th century. He is considered one of the first Black African-American wrestling champions. All right. He was born in Beaufort. He was born into slavery in Beaufort, South Carolina in 1854 and gained his freedom at the end of the American Civil War and moved north. Now, to understand collar and elbow wrestling, which everybody is familiar with the term. If you remember professional wrestling, collar and elbow wrestling is a very obscure form now. It actually has been integrated to either the techniques have been integrated into either catch as catch can or Greco-Roman wrestling. Okay, but back in the day, the Irish had brought collar and elbow from Ireland to Maine. And it was literally a stronghold for that people across the world would come to the United States just to try and out wrestle the Irish. Couldn't do it until Mr. Small at an impressive height for 1870 at 5'9" and a starch 180 pounds. Okay, this dude went 63 matches. Well, went 63-0. All right, became the first champion amongst the Irish. Even the Irish started calling him Black Sam. Okay, this man and then just when it thought wasn't enough, he went to New York for a while. And there was the heavyweight boxing champion in the world had an open night and said, anybody want to come get some? And Viral was like, guess what, homie? These hands are ready to eat for everyone, and you can get plenty. Okay, and he jumped in the ring and beat the world heavyweight champion at the time. So not only was he a world heavyweight, the first African world heavyweight wrestler, but he also was a world heavyweight boxing champion as well. Kept doing it until he got into a brawl with a guy by the name of Olynyk, and I know I just butchered that name, and they fought. And the dude was seedy as enough. He was so seedy that he found out where Viral was staying at, snuck into the room, shot him in the neck. And he still lived and continued fighting, okay, afterwards. We don't know when. It does not say when he died, but the last fight that he had was in 1885. Viral Small. There's actually a documentary called the Statue of Black Sam.
All right, there you go. That is the story of Black Sam. Thank you so much, John Keys. Viral Small is his name, and we will remember him for Black History Month. That's awesome.
Yeah. First black professional wrestler, first black wrestling champion.
All right. So let's get into it. We had fights on Saturday night, and that is UFC Vegas 19, Blaydes versus Lewis. This is the official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we look at the fights on Saturday night. Unfortunately, we didn't get to make picks for this one. Remember, this is Madame Tussauds rules. So if it ain't on wax, it ain't real. UFC Vegas 19, Blaydes versus Lewis, Saturday, February 20th, 2021 at the Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. There were supposed to be 6 fights on the card, but there were only 5. We'll tell you why one fight got canceled in just a moment. But let's go through some of these results. Andrei Arlovski got defeated by Tom Aspinall via submission in round number 2. You know, Andrei Arlovski came out looking pretty good, but then he got choked out.
He was doing good until he wasn't? Is that what you're saying?
He was doing good until he wasn't.
Well,
does he break your rule number 1?
So no. It does not, because Andrei Arlovski is not officially from Russia.
He's Russian, but he originally billed from Chicago. So he was from Belarus, and he's also from Belarus.
He's from Belarus.
He came from Belarus, but planting himself in Chicago. When he did his debut, he was fighting from Belarus via Chicago, or
right.
You know. That's how he did it. So technically, you really can't call it. You know, you can't call him Russian.
It's not a rule number American. 1.
Keep them Chi-Town, baby. Get them country boys nothing.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our listeners, just because I get legitimately excited when we get our listener feedback and we get this real time feedback. So if you're listening. Next week when we're on, feel free to jump on. We do see your comments on the side. Quick shout out to Lepidolite, because we just saw him jump on, and that was the smile on, because I know we're going to see some fire comments here. So just wanted to give that in there.
Yeah,
Very
Comets
nice.
finna bang. They're gonna bang tonight. So
Yeah, they are. We got a lot to talk about.
So just to say about Aspinall, one thing I noticed about Aspinall, it was like fighting a younger version of Andre Arlovski. He was fighting himself. Okay,
I thought it was more like
younger.
Ben Askren.
Oh wow! Is that what we're doing? But he was. I mean, he had hands. He had grappling. Aspinall was there, and he was hungry. And apparently, he got some pit bull for his troubles. So, hey, congratulations.
I was gonna say, did you guys see some of the? I guess the highlights and the hype up that the UFC was doing for Aspinall? Like, they really want to jump on his bandwagon, man.
Yeah, I saw that as well. You know, and this is coming from Andre Arlovski, who I think he lost his last fight, but he has been on a win streak. So he was coming up. So to have Tom Aspinall and to have the UFC really pushing on him, you know, really says something about what they believe this guy can do.
Even Aspinall says, "Look, I'm going to be a UFC heavyweight champion." He's claiming it already.
I like that. Don't believe the hype. Oh, wow.
I was ready for this. Y'all set that up.
Wow. Well, see, I'm glad that they did it because they're beefing up the heavyweight division. They need to do that. I need hungry guys like that. I'm not saying he's going to get it. I'm just saying they need hungry guys like that. So,
well, Lieutenant Light says that British crowd is riding with Aspinall. You know, they do follow their guy, but it gets. We're going to talk about how stout the heavyweight division has gotten in just a moment. Because this week we're going to be picking fights between Rozenstruik and Ciryl Gane. So it's like there's a lot of big heavyweights.
That's a lot of beef.
That's a lot of beef. Just like behind Kalechi, that's a lot of beef.
Like, man, you trying to catch these hands?
No, you have a photo of a
goo behind you.
You forgot the bull. Hey, stay right there. The horns are perfect.
You're perfectly placed enough.
Let's go on to the next one. Chris Darkas defeated Alexi Olynyk via TKO. You know, that's the one of the thing about Alexi Olynyk. You know, they call him the boa constrictor. If he gets you down, you know, it's a bad day for you. But we've seen a lot of people be able to dispatch him with hands, and that's basically what Chris Darkas did.
Yeah.
I like how you said a lot of people.
Dude has like 4,000 fights. So, I mean...
Right. He's been around the block quite a few times. Okay?
They named the block after him. He's been around it so many times.
Yeah, Memorial at that. Memorial. They didn't just name it, you know, Olynyk Way. They did Olynyk Memorial Way. You know, good.
And it was quick too.
Yeah. Hey, man.
In the next fight of the night, Derek Minner defeated Charles Rosa via unanimous decision. Ketlin Vieira lost to Yana Kunitskaya via unanimous decision.
That was a weird one.
Why was it weird for you?
Okay, because go ahead, George.
That unanimous decision thing off the gate. Caitlin won that first round, and I think one of the judges gave her like all 3 rounds or something crazy like that.
No, based on this, it says all 3 were 29-28.
Yes. So they lost the round somewhere. Okay. But my thing is that at the end when Kunitskaya, it was pretty much, you know, Caitlin was on top of her, and she had the ground control, even though she had thrown like maybe a dozen punches the entire fight, and it just seemed like that the judges were looking at just any type of excitable movement at the end of the round, at the end of the third round. And the moment that Kunitskaya pretty much reversed her and started waylaying her with elbows and punches, that they were like, oh, she won. And just like that, and just pretty much negated her entire ground game to nullify. But, you know, I mean, were they looking at it like a lay and pray situation or what? It was weird to me.
That's what I think happened. I felt like Ketlin wasn't active enough on the ground as far as attempts at submissions or even her striking. And so therefore her takedowns really don't mean much in terms of the new scoring criteria. And then to get reversed, to have all that control time down on the ground and then get reversed the last 30 seconds and then worked in the ground and pound by Kunitskaya. What's her name? Kunitskaya?
Kunitskaya,
yeah. So, I think that's what happened, man. Caitlin wasn't active enough on the ground. Even though she got the takedown, she controlled on the ground. She wasn't doing anything to either actively damage her, submit her, or any of those things, any of those criteria that is really going to help her in the scoring. And then to get reversed and then eat some punches the way she did. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Lepidolite says, that the judges were looking at the damage. At the end of the day, if you have somebody down on the ground and you're not doing a lot of damage and then you get reversed and then they start working you get that. That's a real easy decision when you see what one person can do with more time on the ground, and then it gets reversed, and you see what the other person with less time and the amount of damage that they do. It becomes an easy comparison of how much damage a person does. And personally, for me, I like the fact that they just didn't give it to a person who was controlling someone. I hate the fact that a wrestler can bring a fight to the ground and then just control them, not do any damage, just hold the person down,
But neutralization is a type of domination, though. If you can neutralize the an opponent's movement, that is a form of domination.
For me, and this is based upon the scoring system that I work on, which is the Combat Sports Talk judging criteria. On our website, you have to pass. If you are holding them and you're passing from full guard, maybe to half guard, to side control, to mount, maybe you're not doing a whole lot of damage, but you're actually passing to a better position. I can give you that. I can score points for that. But if you're just holding that person down and they've got your arm locked and you're not doing a whole lot of damage, maybe you're throwing an elbow every 15 seconds or so, or a punch every 15. You're not actually using the control that you have to do any damage, and that's what this is all about.
I like to think of it in terms of striking. If I'm standing up and I neutralize your ability to use your cross, but at the same time you're not able to use that weapon anymore, should I score points because I've neutralized it? You get what I'm saying? So I think of that same. No, just because I stopped you from being able to throw something, I haven't caused you any damage. I haven't done anything to effectively win the fight. I'm just keeping you from hitting me. That's not domination.
It is if your name is Kamaru Usman.
We'll get to that. Okay, we'll get to that in just a minute.
In just a moment. Let's go to the main event of the evening. Derrick, the Black Beast Lewis. Face destruction uppercut Hadouken to Curtis Blaydes for the win.
I don't even know. I don't even have words for what happened in there. It was destruction. It was pure power destruction.
So yeah, it was uppercut, and then it was, and I can hear myself.
Hold on. Pause for a second. And then he fell down.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
And then you got two super necessary strikes before Herb Dean from the other side of the ring came in to stop the fight.
Was it three?
Like three.
Or was it two?
Was it three?
I saw it was like three.
Yeah,
I saw three.
And thank you, Herb Dean, once again for the violence. Okay.
So
real talk, do you think that?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Well, I
just kind of felt like Blaydes was. I feel like Blaydes was winning. Like Blaydes had conquered the calf kick, and it seemed to be effective just because I felt like
Derrick Lewis.
Thank you, Lewis. Like in that first round, he really what was it? His left leg. Is his left leg crooked? Like, so did you notice that? As his lead leg?
He has suffered some severe injuries to that knee. And I want to say, I think he's had surgery or two. But I saw that as well. It's almost like he kept slipping on that foot. I don't know if you guys saw that during the fight.
Yeah.
Part of it definitely was from those calf kicks. But the other thing, the octagon can be kind of slippery. I don't know if you guys are familiar enough with it. But like when you go in there fresh and you're not wet or anything like that, it can have a little glide to it sometimes.
So you know, I want to go real quick to the famous last words of Curtis Blaydes. We posted this in the Intelligent Defense discussion group, just to kind of talk about the fact that Curtis. I don't know why I want to call him Curtis Blow, but basketball is my favorite sport.
It is now. Okay.
Well, these were the breaks for sure. He says, "I know a lot of people don't care. I have a family. I'm out here trying to feed my family. I don't care if you want me to risk my win bonus, which is $100,000. You want me to risk $100,000 to stand and bang with a guy who has terrible wrestling? Nah, I'm just not going to do it." What did Curtis Blaydes do the entire first round?
Well, you know, the first round is a feeling out process. Okay, very few people can go for the shoot. Okay, if your name ain't Gracie, I surely decide do not go for the shoot in the first.
This goes back to what we were just talking about, the neutralization of a weapon.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Derrick Lewis came out from the beginning and he let it be known, I'm throwing this uppercut or you're going to eat this knee if you walk in here trying to take me down. He neutralized. It was not Curtis. Curtis had all intents to go out there and try to wrestle this man and take him down. Mm-hmm. Lewis said, "Run in here if you want to. I got something for you."
And he did, but that's the whole point. He had to. If I know that a guy who has a 100% rate of knocking people out, okay, when he's got the shining darkness in his fist, when he's got one punch that'll send you straight to the shadow realm, okay, I'm not going to shoot in there just yet. I'm going to set him up. I mean, was it respect? Was it a little bit of fear? Was it both? I don't know. Yeah. I just know that when he finally went in there, well,
I feel like Blaydes was the one got set up.
I'm just saying, somebody went home the winner and somebody went home. That's all I gotta say about that.
So let's go to some of the comments that Lepidolite has. He says Blaydes got rocked early. A lot of people forgot that. Yes, in the first round, Blaydes shot in and Lewis grazed him with the uppercut. Didn't quite get him, but it was enough to cause him to back up. And so Lewis said in the post-fight press conference, I don't know if you guys got a chance to listen to him. He was saying this was the only thing he was looking for. He didn't care that he was getting kicked in the leg. He didn't care about any of that. He knew that Curtis Blaydes was going to try to shoot, and he had that uppercut ready for him. And so eventually, second round, he decided to Curtis Blaydes decided to shoot again. And to be honest, Curtis Blaydes was not looking that bad on his feet.
He was looking good until he
was looking pretty good. And I mean, there was that one sequence where he caught Derrick Lewis with like a combo, and then as Derrick Lewis is retreating, he kicks him in the leg, and Derrick Lewis like falls to the ground. It's like maybe you should strike.
No.
Oh man.
This is where you instigate what's known as chain wrestling. You fake the first takedown, you fake the second takedown, and then on the third one you actually go or whatever, and then you move that leg to another side of the body and reshoot again to solidify your takedown. I don't know what Curtis Blaydes thought he was going to do. I didn't see a lot of feints like he was really trying to go after the takedown. I feel like there were many opportunities. The calf kick he was throwing, that's a simple way to pick up somebody's leg. I know Derrick Black Beast Lewis has a heavy leg, but as many of those calf kicks that Curtis Blaydes threw, one of those he could have used to pick up that leg to get it off the ground and to grab it himself. Vice versa, you also know that Lewis likes to throw kicks from time to time. It's a great opportunity to catch a kick and shoot for your takedown. There were many other ways. I hate when wrestlers get in this mindset that the only takedown they're going to get is if they shoot. It doesn't have to be that way, man. It doesn't. So
You know, I think that's some really good commentary in the fact that there are more than one way to get in there to go for a takedown. And unfortunately, I think it has partly to do with Curtis Blaydes' disrespect of Derrick Lewis's ability to handle a wrestler. And one would go back and look at his previous fights to say the only wrestler that Derrick Lewis really struggled with was an Olympic caliber wrestler in Daniel Cormier.
And you know what DC did? He ankle picked him.
Yeah, he did.
Wrestling 101. He ankle picked a grown ass man. Excuse my French.
We'll take it. So we said that there were 6 fights on the card. Unfortunately, we only got to see 5 because I don't know if is he Brazilian? I think he's Brazilian. So Rafael Alves missed weight. One of the fighters on the card, Rafael Alves, missed weight by 11.5 pounds. All right,
how do you do that?
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
You know,
yeah.
12 pounds. You weren't trying. You hadn't even started the weight cut.
I'm like, maybe
12 pounds.
Maybe he forgot he was fighting that weekend. Because I know I forget things like, oh, it's supposed to be this weekend. I thought it was next weekend. Because that's what the weight you come in on fight week is at 11 pounds
on
and
Monday.
Then you knock the rest of it. Yeah, exactly.
You stepping off the plane 11 pounds over.
Exactly. You don't walk in there confidently like I'm gonna go ahead and pretend like this 11 pounds isn't sitting here. No, man.
Now, what he said is that he was 4 pounds off from making weight. He had some salmon and it gave him diarrhea and he had to rehydrate. And in that time where he rehydrated after the diarrhea, that's when he gained the rest of the weight, 12 pounds or whatever. So it's like,
hold up. You're saying that the man ate some salmon croquettes, and
the day before,
and he drunk 12 pounds worth of water.
Well,
to rehydrate
let's be fair, 7 pounds, about 7 pounds. So a gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. But you also have bodily fluids that allow you to expel that water, right?
If you're vomiting, you're diarrheaing. Okay, you lost some. You ain't got no liquids.
Yeah.
You, okay,
he shouldn't have just rehydrated. He would have made the weight if he was vomiting and diarrhea. That's how other fighters make weight.
I'm like, oh man, come on. See, I wasn't gonna go on the bulimic side of the game, but if you're gonna take it there, I mean,
I wasn't calling it that. But you know what's interesting is that not only did he miss featherweight, but he missed lightweight too.
Exactly, dude. You're in the welterweight. You came in as a welterweight trying to fight, trying to talk about I got this, man.
Well, did y'all hear the truth of what he walks around at? He walks around at 190, 195, if I'm not mistaken.
195, yeah.
And he fights at 145 allegedly. So this guy is dropping 50 pounds to fight.
How do you do that? I'm trying to drop 40 pounds. Okay, and it's been years. Okay.
His body is going to be wrecked as he gets older. Like there's no way around him. When you're cutting weight, dropping weight like that, man, that yo-yo, it's gonna jack you up later in life. You're gonna pay for that. There's no free lunch.
Well, see, and that's why I believe in the way that one is doing it. They regulate that because fighters need to, because we've seen it time and time again. Fighters that does not lose that much weight, that actually does it at a natural progression, they fight better. Okay, they perform better, they win more. Mm-hmm. All right, that losing 40, 50 plus pounds just to have an advantage in a lighter division is not healthy at all. It's not worth the win. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand the need to win. I get that, but you got to do it better than that.
Yeah, and Lepidolite says they get knocked out less as well.
Exactly.
So that's something that I think we've covered this multiple times because we've seen people miss weight. You know, what was it? Mackenzie Dern was one of the people who kind of had that record for being the heaviest person to miss weight the most until this one.
Pounds.
I don't know if it was 16 pounds, but it was something crazy too. But by missing this weight, we desperately need the UFC to get more serious about weights. Not only for the people who miss it like Rafael Alves, but for the people who miss it by 2 or 3 pounds. Because you know what I always say? I was texting you guys whenever they announced that he had missed weight by 12 pounds. Yeah, I was like, you have 3 rules as a fighter. 3 jobs. 3 jobs. Number 1, train. Train. Number 2, make weight. Number 3, win fights. That's what you got to do. If you're going to live that lifestyle, train, make weight, win fights. That's what you do. If you can't do that, then we got to start looking at, yeah, he's going to move up now to lightweight is what he's going to do. But you have to start doing something to make this all safer for the fighters out there. Yeah. So that's it. Let's close the book on this one and put this one on the shelf. This card is history. Let's go into the stories that are making waves in the MMA world with Finding the Angles. All right, this is Finding the Angles. And let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what we didn't get to talk about last week. And that is UFC 258. So UFC 258, the Redux, the review is our headliner. Man, I had so much that I wanted to talk about in UFC 258. Like, I'm so mad at Mother Nature right now because it was like,
you ain't mad at her because she'll come back, dude. Don't do that.
Yeah, I was so mad at her because I wanted to talk about UFC. I was so excited to talk about UFC 258, and then what happened? What happened? Snowpocalypse.
Yes.
So let's go into it real quick. UFC 258. We had 5 fights on the card. Julian Marquez versus Maki Pitolo. Now, Pitolo came out guns blazing. Julian Marquez had to finish Maki Pitolo to win the fight. He was down 2 rounds to none. Coming into the 3rd round, homeboy got it done with an anaconda choke. Unbelievable. And so he goes into the post-fight interview, not the press conference, post-fight interview, and he puts on a WWE style promo where he calls out Miley Cyrus to be his Valentine.
Yes, he did.
Shoot your shot.
Did you get the? Do we have the reply? Did we have the reply? Did you get the reply?
Well, I did see the reply. Do you want to tell everybody what the reply was?
She said, if you put an MC on your hairy chest, if you shave it off, she would do it. No. And then he
yeah. No, I'm not doing that.
Can't do it, homie.
Not worth it. Not worth it.
You ain't about to be this wrecking ball.
Yeah, I was making wrecking ball jokes. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just like, this is why you have to choose your call outs better, because that's a prize. Like, if you win, do you win?
It just goes back to, do you tattoo the initials of your prospective mate on you?
But that's just chest hair. Like, that's gonna grow back.
Nah.
Yeah, but that's kind of humiliating too. I mean, you know, I support Brian Ebersol, and the Harrow, but I'm not writing Miley Cyrus's initials in my chest.
You guys have done some shameful things to get with a woman before. And so now y'all want to hate on Julia Marquez, who's on Valentine's Day, is trying to get it in.
Wait a minute. Where did my exploits get posted up? Okay.
They there.
I'm just saying, okay? I'm not, you just don't do that, okay? For either man or woman, you never tattoo because things go crazy if that happens, okay? And Miley Cyrus ain't all there anyway, in my opinion. So, there was no guarantee that if you had done that, she'd probably been like, I wouldn't have done that, and kept on going. And now you're sitting there at home with the MC on your chest, knowing that it was Miley Cyrus.
No. One, he's making airways right now. He is in the news. He is the hot topic. In fact, the UFC probably needs to use this as a marketing ploy themselves. Because we're talking about it. Here we are. Look, I haven't mentioned Miley Cyrus in I don't know when. I can't think of the last time I even thought about Miley Cyrus. But she made it on our show.
There's going to be a crossover episode with the UFC and The Bachelor.
Wow. Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing now?
They gotta stay relevant somehow. That marketing department is trash.
Man, I thought we'd go for, what is that, 90-Day Fiance or something like that? That we can get them two together to see what happens.
Oh wow! Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I just thought it was funny because of the fact that he used this time to
I'm mad at the player.
Yeah, but he used this time to try to get a Twitter hashtag going, and then to try to get Miley Cyrus attention, which it worked, because I can tell you like this: when he mentioned Miley Cyrus, it was interesting because I was tweeting out. I'm sure everybody was tweeting out to Miley Cyrus. It was enough for her to see it, and so I do respect him shooting his shot like that. Let's go on. Ricky Simon defeated Brian Kelleher via unanimous decision. It was basically coast to coast. He controlled that fight the entire time. Kelvin Gastelum got back in the win column against Ian Heinisch. And so that was an interesting fight because we expected.
Called it.
It was not on wax. No, it's not on wax.
Actually,
Madame Tussauds.
we did have these on wax. Lepetolite, I think, was put in for Ian. Everybody else was for Gastelum, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. So we did.
Did we pick that fight?
Yes,
I think we did.
Kelechi was on wax on this one. Okay, so here we go. The entire show picked Kelvin Gastelum. The only person who picked Ian Heinisch was Lepetolite. Yeah, right there.
Welcome to the club, Lepetolite.
There you go, right there. Boom. At least he copped to it. He copped to it. All right. In the next fight of the night, Macy Barber took it from Alexa Grasso and lost.
Yeah.
Now, let's see here. We had John Keys.
I did it.
George G Money Stallworth and Lepetolite.
Right. Mine's with extra onions, extra pickles, please.
The only people, Kelechi and I, we knew, Alexa Grasso.
Oh, come on.
Really?
Knew it.
Factory X took some losses that night.
Yes, it did. Everyone drink. That was a Factory X reference.
Okay, thanks.
And in the main event of the evening, Kamaru Usman defeated Gilbert Burns via, was it TKO? No, let's see here. Yeah. TKO in round number 3.
That was a masterclass in fighting, and I mean, because the way that they were talking about it and what you were seeing was a domination. Okay, that was Kamaru Usman at 110%. People, all right, he was on it.
I thought that was like 30.
No, that wasn't
Maybe it was
30.
80.
That was 110. It was 110% because he came in there on a mission to prove something,
but you better put some respect on my name.
Exactly.
Yeah. I am the best on the planet for a reason. Now, everybody else, y'all need to put some respect on my name. I am the welterweight champ for a reason. I'm here to stay.
There it is from the champ himself.
Mm-hmm. And we should. I mean, you know, and the pit of light, I'm gonna tell you like this. All right, like it was taught to me. Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and shotguns. Okay, that's it. Almost, okay. He still got the, he did it. He and I'll put respect on Kamaru Usman's name. You know, will I compare him to GSP? I don't know.
Smack yourself. Smack yourself.
I don't. Hold on. Now, hold on. The only reason why that I don't do it yet.
And nonetheless, during Black History Month too.
Okay, the only reason why I will not put that.
You have to put the blue shirt back on, man.
Okay, right, so I know. Here, okay, here it is. Unpopular, you know, opinion is that I truly believe that Kamaru will surpass George St. Pierre. Okay, George St. Pierre really was an evolutionary point. Okay, he was an evolutionary nexus. He evolved people. Okay, he evolved the welterweight, and that's the only reason why I haven't put him there yet. Will Kamaru be the next evolution for the welterweight division? I
don't see how you don't see that. He beat the brakes off of Tyron Woodley. That in itself was evolving that division up and beyond because it had been so stagnant for so long. Then he turned around and went in on Colby Covington like he stole something from him.
No, like he went in on Colby Covington because he knew he had to. Okay, and that we appreciate it. He knew that he had that there was reasons.
That man,
there was reasons.
Jaw.
Okay.
Look,
I appreciate every one of those reasons.
Your jaw. I shut your mouth.
Yes.
Name a GSP fight that is as iconic as the Colby versus Usman fight.
I'll wait.
Okay, all right. So, all right, you're asking me.
Hold on. You're asking me.
We're not done yet, though. Then he turned around on short notice and took out Street Jesus.
Okay, that was okay. Don't make me talk bad about Street Jesus because I'll go and say that was an easy fight for him anyway. Okay, so to go back to the first one. Go back to the first one.
We're still not done. We're still not done. In the short time he's been champion, he's fought 3 of the most highly rated, well-decorated fighters ever in that division and took them all out like a champ. Then turned around and went in on his teammate like his teammate stole something from him.
Yes.
What else do you want this man to do? You better put some respect on his name.
I do put respect on his name.
I am the best on the planet for a reason. Now, everybody else, y'all need to put some respect.
Okay, so I do put respect on his name. I think I was doing it before everybody else did it because I was like, this man's going to be a problem. I think so. But to go back to your question, to your statement, name a fight that GSP had that was iconic, and I got one. There's several of them, but I as iconic. And I'll say the fight with Josh Koscheck. Why?
Koscheck?
Why?
Yes.
Because he introduced a weapon that Kamaru was using that night too. And what was that?
The jab.
Because if you remember in the corner in between the second and third round, what did they tell Kamaru? Your jab is the weapon that defines you. Okay? Your jab is the lightning that will strike him down. All right?
Actually, the most important jab that night was Macy Barber's jab. That touched literally no one.
Ryan, why we go back? I get you.
I mean, it really was air out there. She was punching that air in opportunity. She was
shadow boxed the hell out of Alexa Grasso. I'm just saying.
I know Grasso was sitting there like, "Ay, Dios mío, what is this fool doing?" Okay, you know.
It was pretty funny because she is an elite boxer, and so to see somebody throwing jabs and not even being close, she's just standing there. She was just like,
Yeah, like
Okay.
and that was the part that really threw me off. Like a lot, going back to Alexa Grasso. I mean, you're fighting a veteran boxer, and it's like, have you ever seen the puppy try to attack the parent dog, and they're doing all this, waving in the air, and finally the dog just runs them over and keep going?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what Grasso did to her.
Till the third round, and then Macy Barber turned it on, but it wasn't enough. Hey, the thing that I want to talk about Kamaru Usman, though, is the fact that while he did take that huge shot and was nearly dropped, it didn't count against him because he caught himself at the last minute. So I was watching somewhere, and they were saying that Kamaru Usman still hasn't been knocked down because he didn't actually fall to the ground when Gilbert Burns touched him. Now, Gilbert Burns said that he got too excited, just left the game plan, and was trying to get the finish when he landed that punch on Kamaru Usman. And that's what set him up for those jabs and the things that Kamaru Usman was able to do, because Gilbert Burns was just loading up, trying to finish the fight with these big punches. And so Gilbert Burns still believes, he's like, listen, I know what I did wrong. I left the game plan. I got a little too excited, and I got finished. He's like, but I can win this fight. So I'm excited about Gilbert Burns, because I think that he, 1 or 2 fights, maybe he gets that Colby Covington fight, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then after that, we might see this rematch. And Kamaru Usman said that he is willing to give it. Now, we heard the clip about Kamaru Usman and put some respect on my name, but do you know who is putting respect on Kamaru Usman's name?
Who?
UFC president Dana White.
Finally, finally, he did it.
He did, and
so
he said it before the fight too, though. I never am a Dana White fan, as you guys know, but I will say that Dana, for one, even in the pre-conference, was speaking really well of Kamaru Usman. When asked if he felt like Kamaru was getting respect that he deserves, he laid out Kamaru's resume and was like, name someone better. Like, we're going to be talking GOAT in the near future when it comes to Kamaru. So, like, kudos for Dana White for stepping in and actually defending a fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can remember when he was disrespectful of him. We can remember.
Yeah.
But the question becomes, and I'm sorry to cut you off right there, Brian, but the question becomes, was Kamaru Usman really right when he said it the first time that he was only fighting at 30%? Was his hype train really legit?
I think so. He's proven himself to only have gotten better.
Yeah, well, when he said he was fighting at 30%, he was actually coming off of an injury, and so he fought that the guy from Iceland. I forgot his name, but he fought that guy, and he was really nursing an injury while he did it. So he wasn't at full potential. To me, the funniest part, which we will never see, because I think they deleted it after they captured the footage, was in the back. Megan O'Leary caught up with him, and he's like, yeah, I was at 30%. Imagine me at 80%. I'm like, what are you doing? 80%. Like, I went on forever. Like, I wish I could get that video just so people could see that he said that. But I was surprised that Dana White actually, even in the post-fight press conference, was like, listen, it's sad that people aren't giving Kamaru Usman his due because, he is, and just laid out everything. He's like, this guy is worth it. And so what was interesting is, and I think I sent you guys the video. The reporter goes, well, Dana, you've got some friends at Endeavor, the parent company. Why don't they sponsor him and put him on? And then Dana was like, well, it ain't that easy. I got 475 other fighters I got to promote. So it's Dana White making progress in actually speaking positively about Kamaru Usman, but the excuses are still there as to why Kamaru Usman's not getting the same billing that Conor McGregor gets, that Jorge Masvidal gets, that even a John Jones gets. So if you're going to be this elite fighter who is well-spoken and well-dressed and has done all of these amazing things in the octagon, having almost cleared out the welterweight division which is just about as stacked as a division you're going to find in the UFC, then he should actually be getting the top billing as some of these other fighters. I got some honorable mentions, guys. I want to shout out a guy whose hype train I've been on for a very long time. And that is Bilal, remember the name Muhammad. I've been on that hype train for a very long time. I like the way this guy fights. He defeated Diego Lima in 30-27. It was pretty much cruising to victory. And we'll talk about him a little bit later in the show, but I'm sending my shout outs to Bilal Muhammad. And then I've got to send a shout out to Anthony Hernandez, aka Fluffy. Not on that hype train, but I got to send him a shout out because he was facing Rodolfo Vieira, 7-time Abu Dhabi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. Everyone thought that Vieira was going to just wreck Anthony Hernandez, but Lil Fluffy had other ideas. Muscle-bound Vieira gassed himself in the first round, could barely keep his arms up, and Anthony Hernandez submitted 7-time Abu Dhabi champion via guillotine choke in round number 2.
Can you get your belt refunded for that? Can you get your belt snatched away from that? Okay.
I don't know.
You can't go 7-time champion and lose like
It's
that.
a different skill set.
I think you insta black belt if you guillotine choke a 7-time Abu Dhabi champion. Just saying. All right.
Somebody cried that night.
They cried in the car for sure.
Yeah.
All right. There's more stories though that we need to get to, and so I wanna go through some of these as well before we make our fight picks. Going back to UFC Vegas 18, the main event. So we saw Curtis Blaydes get destroyed and knocked out to that stiff, scary kind of knockout. But so did the last main event with Corey Sandhagen and Frankie Edgar. And so Frankie Edgar, they interviewed him, and he said that after the Sandhagen knockout, he couldn't remember who he fought or the months that he had trained for that fight. So we start talking about fighters who, like Frankie Edgar, who's been in this league for a very long time, who's seen some major wars, getting knocked out and having the loss of memory that he had. Even if it was temporary, this isn't the type of head trauma that you want to be getting in your late 30s. So the question becomes to you guys, how do we begin to save some of these fighters from themselves? Because that was a pretty devastating knockout. You might remember Frankie Edgar also had a pretty devastating knockout from T-City Ortega.
Mm-hmm. I think these guys need to be routinely visited by like a UFC sanctioned doctor who's doing cognitive and emotional tests, because there's been a precipitous decline for some of these older fighters who've been in this game for a while, taking direct damage. And I think without a doubt, CTE is going to factor in here. And it does the sport no good to see. Honestly, I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but even the Diaz brothers, as they are now, the slurred speech, the irrational anger, like these are telltale signs of CTE. And it does us no good to keep them in there fighting just for entertainment for the sake of entertainment. I think the best way to manage the current situation is that cognitive test has to be part of the physicals that are passed for signing about agreement.
Anyone else?
I agree with what Kalechi said, but instead of a UFC doctor, I would like it to be independent, an independent certified neurologist. All right, just for some fact, I wouldn't trust the UFC, and it's nothing against the UFC. I would think it would be almost it would be more of a transparency thing if you get somebody that's not associated with the UFC to actually run those scans and to run those visits. That way they can sit there and say that there was somebody that was totally independent of us that said that this guy cannot fight anymore and be done with it. I would be, but everything else that Kelechi said was right.
I'd be willing to even make it a yearly exam, so just to give these guys some grace period to bow out on their own terms, rather than making it a bout by bout decision. But it just gets really bad, and I think it's a good idea that they've pulled away from interviewing fighters after they've been knocked out. But this is just that next evolution in how are you caring for your fighters? Because in some cases, I think Dana White has cared for people and said, look, your career is over, but it's still in their own hands. And if you're cognitively diminished, it's hard to say that they're going to make the best decision on their own health when we're acknowledging the fact that they're actually not able to make good decisions on their own at a certain point.
And let's put in there the fact that just because Dana won't let them fight anymore, that another organization might pick them up and let them fight one or two more fights. I mean, it's got to be something. They got to do something as far as making a general rule that once a fighter's been ruled, you know, he cannot fight in this organization. It really needs to be a blacklist across all of them, including BKFC.
Rashad Evans have something like that going on, where like he couldn't pass a scan, and so his career was effectively over?
I believe so.
I think with Rashad, it was also the sanctioning body. I think it was either California or Nevada. He couldn't pass the physical, and that became a part of the sanctioning or the commission not allowing him to fight, not the UFC.
Well, you know, I just want to bring up the fact that in Rocky 5, he thought that he was going, you know, he could not pass the physical because he had the CTE, but they still let him go in there and fight.
Was that Rocky Balboa? John on us?
Yeah, I did. I totally pulled a John Keys. I needed to pull the John Keys there.
Okay.
It was Rocky Balboa, by the way, not Rocky 5. It was Rocky Balboa.
Hey, don't put that on me. Okay.
Like the moment you started, I was like, did you guys have a Freaky Friday moment? Like,
dude, I almost shed a tear there when he did it too. That was a bad thing. I was like, oh wow, he's doing it. You know, it almost happened. You know.
Well, you know, I don't know if to be a podcaster in MMA you have to have pop culture. But Cub Swanson believes that to be an MMA journalist, you need to have fights under your belt.
Cub is wrong.
So let's set up the story. So Cub Swanson posted on Twitter that I think MMA media should be required to have 3 amateur fights. And then he puts a shrugging icon and then asks for thoughts. Aaron Bronstetter, who is a TSN sports MMA sportscaster or journalist, says, I have massive respect for Cub and anyone else who just dedicates their life to excel at their craft. I've spent 20 years earning multiple degrees, volunteering, unpaid internships, overnight shifts, anything to get experience and improve. Would hope that respect goes both ways. And then Dana White said, I stand with Cub Swanson, Team Cub Swanson. So clearly the journalists are like, listen, you know, I understand that you feel like we need to have amateur fights under our belts in order to cover the sport. But at the same time, to become a journalist, there's a lot of work that has to be done to be able to be qualified to do the job. And I think that is discounted by people like Cub and Dana White.
I don't know if Dana White actually agreed with Cub so much as he just hates the media. Like the way he attacks Ariel Helwani still to this day is a little ridiculous. But at the end of the day, like having played a sport doesn't actually qualify you to comment on that said sport. Like it's a whole different skill set to be able to talk about it. I think you look at a Daniel Cormier and his years of experience rolling on the mat absolutely adds to his ability to talk about the fight. On the other side of this, like y'all know I love Usman just because like so many connections from country to high school, to everything, but he's not a great commentator. Like, he's just not. And I don't think that having played the sport makes you good at it. Like, I look at a lot of the women on the NFL sidelines doing their reporting. They obviously haven't played in the NFL, but that hasn't negated their ability to break down a game. Like, doing is not teaching.
Exactly.
Coach.
Oh, go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I definitely don't necessarily agree with Cub on this. Me, for example, I'm a coach, but I'm probably not the greatest commentator. You know, I'm a former fighter, but I'm not a great commentator by any means. I can't get with Cub on this one. I definitely think there are some guys out there that do a stand-up, bang-up job when it comes to commentary, when it comes to interviews and things like that for our fighters, and they make our fighters better or look better as a result. That's where I'm at on that.
John Keys.
It's kind of a double-edged sword. I understand where Dana and Cub are coming from. Is that it sounds like a point of frustration. However, you gotta understand that familiarity does breed confidence. I do believe that that if you had some sort of training or familiarity with it, that makes you better able to commentate. However, when I think the frustration comes from, like Lepidolite said right here, when they get asked stupid questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question. Okay, there are such things as softball questions where they get thrown up there to get answered and get explained on a very technical level. I think that's what a lot of reporters do, because when reporters ask questions, they ask questions that an average person would ask. Okay, that's how I feel about it.
So Ryan and I have disagreed on the efficacy of even having these interviews post-fight, because to me, no one's going to say anything. Well, generally speaking, they're not going to say anything that's just too far off.
Julian Marquez.
I needed to pull that back immediately.
Respect on my name.
But out of this, it's just that notion that how having done this will give you empathy. It doesn't. Like, we've seen so many of the same fighters talk trash about each other from the commentating booth that they would if they were across the octagon from that same peer. So I don't know that having been a UFC fighter gives you some level of empathy that a journalist wouldn't have, because at the end of the day, we're all cheering on brutality. Like, there's no masking that. Like, it is what it is. Like, let's not pretend that fighting in the UFC somehow gives you this level of you're caring for a fighter in a different way.
All right. Well, let me hit you with the flip side of the coin on that, because Ryan and I were just hanging out the other day watching a little TV, and lo and behold, Stephen A. Smith pops up on the screen, and I look at Ryan, and I all I could do is shake my head and be like, why is this man even talking about MMA?
Well, it's because he's got those nasty punch combos, man. Didn't you see that video? Okay, he's got some serious punch combos, man, that are vicious.
The downward
punching
punch
at the leg. Okay,
yeah.
that leg punch combo, man, was something serious. But
I got to give a shout out to Angela Hill for trying to change up her training so that she could do a little bit more of that Stephen A. Smith style of boxing. If you haven't seen Angela Hill's video, I think after MMA she could have a career in skit comedy. She's a pretty funny person. To get back to
speaking of Angela Hill, did you notice that her and Karen Bryant are doing a podcast now?
I did notice that they were
changing up.
Yes.
So
all right.
Yeah, I even sent in some question. I even sent in a question to them. I support them. They were trying to do the. What's funny is that they were trying to do the, for all you novice MMA fans out there, ask us questions that you don't know or don't understand about the sport, and we'll answer them. Well, I was like, hey, you do understand that the people who are going to follow you, Karen and Angela, aren't going to be the casuals. It's us who's been following Angela Hill and Karen Bryant for all these years. So all the questions they're getting are like, you know, insider
Super
type
hardcore.
questions. Yeah, like it's not easy questions like, what is an anaconda choke? No one's asking that question. You know, it's, what do you think about the state of the welterweight division with, you know, like that's the kind of questions they're getting. Yeah, go ahead, Kelechi.
No, I was just like, I would ask the anaconda choke question.
I'm still trying to understand the nuances of the Van Vliet choke. So, you know.
Yeah. So let's move on. I think we're all agreed that Cub Swanson is maybe missing the mark here. That you don't need to have been in fights to be able to talk and have commentary and be credible with the fights. But I do think that, you know, as I was saying in Intelligent Defense discussion group, is that perhaps it's the concern that journalists don't always show empathy or respect that fighters want. You know how when bad example, but this is the first one that comes to mind, is when Stephen A. Smith was like, Cowboy Cerrone, he just gave up. He was, he just basically wasted his time. It's that kind of comment, that flippant, cavalier type of take on
casual
a fighter's career that really frustrates these professional fighters. Now, turns out that 2 weeks later, Cowboy Cerrone is like, yeah, I basically gave up. Didn't come in really in the mindset to win a fight, so therefore that's what happened, proving Stephen A. Smith right. But a blind dog finds a bone every once in a while. Broken clock is right twice a day. So
we're not going to put no respect on his name, is what
not
you're
on
trying
Stephen
to say.
A. Smith's name. No. But it is one of those things where it's that throwaway comment about someone's life's work that some journalists have that I think inspires or is what inspired Cub Swanson to say what he said. If you would get in the ring and see what we actually go through, then maybe you would be less likely to make these flippant comments about what I do as a professional. And I think that was his motivation, but I do think that he's wrong in believing that you need to have had fights in order to comment on the sport. Speaking about someone making comments on the sport, we've been talking a lot about Leon Edwards. I mean, we were saying, when has Leon Edwards fight? Why is he so high in the rankings? But he hadn't fought anybody, hadn't fought in like a year and a half. I remembered that conversation happening on this show. Well, dude had a fight scheduled, and guess what happened? What had happened was Khamzat Chimaev is like, I'm still hurting from this COVID. I can't fight. So he is out again. So remember, they postponed it. The fight was supposed to be in January. They postponed the fight till like April. And then he's still suffering from the lingering effects of COVID. So Khamzat Chimaev is out.
He got that Garbrandt COVID. He got that Cody No Love COVID.
Cody
I'm
Chimaev.
not meaning to laugh at that. Okay.
You what?
I'm not meaning to laugh at that, but it is funny. Okay,
Well, there is this thing out there going on where some of the COVID patients are dealing with, they call it long haul COVID or whatever. And
yes,
he is the second fighter that we know of that's had to deal with that.
So that leaves Leon Edwards, who's the number 3 ranked fighter at welterweight, left with no one to fight. You know who else has no one to fight? The number 1 ranked fighter, Colby Covington. Colby Covington could come in there. You know, Colby's always talking about how, you know, these fighters can get it. He's the greatest fighter, you know, former champ and all that stuff. Colby turned down that fight against Leon Edwards. Dude who hadn't fought in a year and a half.
Maybe he had a flashback, you know? It's like, oh, Kamara. And he's like, I can't do it no more.
I mean, Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman are essentially the same person. But
exactly.
It's Black History Month.
That's a joke. I made the joke. Colby Covington basically turned down the Leon Edwards fight. This would be short notice, but he'd still have about 2 weeks to prepare for this fight. I think Colby Covington probably could have done really well against Leon Edwards.
For sure.
Maybe not with 2 weeks notice, but I think that Colby Covington wins that fight. He turned it down because he thinks that he should just get a title shot. And so Colby Covington said that he's not in the Leon Scott charity business. He doesn't even respect Leon Edwards enough to call him by his name. And so Kamaru Usman made a comment, says, I think he made a huge mistake, a tremendous mistake. Who turns down a paycheck? And I agree with that statement. That whole methodology of, if you are number one and you deserve a title shot, then everybody under you should be easy work.
Yep.
So if you don't want to take this fight, then you're saying that this guy is potentially better than you.
Honestly, because the way I feel about it is if you're the number one guy, your job as number one is to make sure that the champion doesn't duck you. And if that means you got to go around knocking people out like Clubber Lang and Rocky 3, then that's what you got to do. Okay. And then when he's out there and they got a statue dedicated to him, they got a statue dedicated to you. That's when you roll up and be like, politics, man. And then you call out his woman, and then y'all be ready to fight, and then your trainer has a heart attack and die right before the fight.
So
people want to see him fight?
People do want to see Colby Covington fight.
Yeah.
I'll watch that fight.
I'll watch that fight too, to watch him get knocked out again.
Yeah. So that's the thing is Colby Covington is sitting there and is trying to wait his way to another title shot. We've seen this happen before. We've seen this happen with Stipe Miocic. He waited his way to a championship. Technically, John's favorite fighter, Chris Weidman, waited his way to a championship fight.
Oh yeah,
Woodley
saw how that
to.
got him.
Mm-hmm.
But see, in both cases, though, in the case of Stipe, in my opinion, that was a kind of a smart move because the heavyweight division really wasn't that stacked yet. Okay, now in the welterweight division, we see a murderer's row, literally from 15-1, and we could probably go back to say even to 25-1 that it's a complete murderer's row. That is not a smart move. That's not a smart move at the welterweight division to sit there and wait, because you will get passed up in that division quickly.
Or not, because just the vice versa of that. Leon Edwards hadn't fought in over a year and a half, and he's in title contention.
But the reason why they hadn't we know that, circumstances prevented that. But at the same time,
we're not talking about nuance. We ain't talking about circumstance. It's been a year and a half. This man is still in title contention. Why? I'm not mad at Colby for waiting.
But it's not for a lack of saying, I'm not going to fight. He's won fights. He's been hunting fights.
Excuses.
That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse.
I'm Colby Covington. I just fought for the title. I'll hang my hat here. I want Kamaru again.
But if sweet baby Jesus is sitting there and plucking your life up and plucking you away for every fight you get, there's nothing you can do if you're trying to do it. What more does the man need to do?
Look at Kamaru's pathway to champion, though, right? He's the complete opposite of Woodley, who at a certain point was just constant contract issues and trying to get stuff. Kamaru couldn't find a fight. Nobody wanted him. He was taking everybody. And that's the complete opposite of what we see out of Covington, who's like, as much trash as he talks about Woodley, he's basically Woodley in this division right now.
Okay, All right, so let me clarify myself. I think we may have got off. I'm not defending Covington. Covington can kick rocks, okay? I'm talking more like Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is the man that he's trying to get a fight. Either nobody wants to fight him, or when he wants to fight, it's as if he's inherited my luck, and something happens, and it's not going to happen. That fight won't happen. So I'm saying for Leon Edwards, for Colby Covington to sit there and sit stagnant, that's not going to work for him because he's going to get moved. He's going to get pushed along, and I hope he does.
So here's the thing: Leon Edwards has a fight, and it's with Bilal Muhammad. Remember the name, Bilal Muhammad, because that's the guy that Leon Edwards is going to end up fighting. This is actually almost one of those times where it's unfair to Bilal Muhammad. Because this is going to be a late fight replacement. He is fighting Bilal Muhammad in his last fight. He was outside of the top 10. Now he's fighting a number 3 guy. So
he's game. He's game to do it. He's like, man, let me get this. Okay, I don't call it unfair. I say, hey, if you think you up for it, go get some of that. Okay, he's not. I don't think he'll complain that he had a short camp when he was the one that volunteered for it.
Here's the question, though: if he does beat Leon Edwards, does he jump Colby Covington in line for Kamaru Usman?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 100%.
Yes. Just on GP. Just on GP.
You casuals. No. Y'all Kobe haters. Y'all are Kobe haters.
Yes.
Look, I don't know why you, the colonizer, are hating against your guy.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'm the colonizer.
All right. Hey, but speaking of colonizing, one championship is coming to America, y'all.
That's a bad segue, sir. Okay.
They are establishing a beachhead in America. And so this is the first time ONE FC is going to be on prime time on a cable channel, TNT, April 7th. Headlining the card is Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson.
That boy's good.
That guy right there.
This is gonna be good. This is actually a smart move and on ONE's part, because if you haven't been watching AEW, All Elite Wrestling, that is really the next generation of good wrestling. Okay, it's not anybody that's tired of the WWE. They watch AEW. If you harken back to the Monday Night Wars and everything like that, AEW is a throwback to that, because though it's a wrestling company that is ran by wrestlers, that is scripted by wrestlers, that display real wrestling talent. Then you're gonna put ONE FC up there, which is all about that fight. Okay, that night on the 7th. Thou shalt choose violence, and it will be good.
Man, you're not making fans with the fans, man. You're not making fans with the fans.
Hey, man. Hey, I'm gonna say it like this, okay? Tell that to a professional wrestler that is not real. Okay, all right. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, tell that to a professional.
I think there's two
wrestler.
important things to remember about the importance of ONE FC coming to America. And that is, hey, I started out mopping the floor just like you guys, but now I'm washing lettuce. Soon,
oh my god! Oh my god!
So
the grill.
Speaking of this ONE championship card, there's another fight you guys need to pay attention to on here. The Petalite's probably going to talk about it as well. Rotang.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yes. If y'all don't know, you heard it here first. Go and check out your highlights from this guy. They call him Iron Man. He's a bad boy.
For a reason.
He is probably.
Oh, go ahead, George. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
when I say beautiful destruction, I think of Rodtang. He is a destroyer of men, and he is a beast in the ring. You will not be disappointed in his performance.
No.
Well, when I think of pure destruction, I think of Pootie Tang. And so
Liberté, my day.
That belt. Sorry.
Tippy ta, ta.
I'm sorry.
Ta-da.
I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
But it's going to be a great card. I don't have cable, but I'm going to find a place to go and watch that. Of course, I'm really watching it for Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, my number one dude. But I'm excited to see Rodtang in action. We have been committing ourselves, haven't we, to learning more about Muay Thai.
Yes,
right?
We have.
Coach Jordan is coaching us up. So we are learning more about that. Last story before we go into our fight picks. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship says Paige Van Zant has secured a well-known name for her return in early midsummer. So Paige Van Zant left the UFC because she felt like she could get more money somewhere else. Apparently, she signed a multi-million-dollar contract with Bare Knuckle FC, made her debut against Britton Hart, and Britton put them hands on her, won by decision. And so now they say that she's coming back this midsummer with a well-known name. Perhaps that well-known name goes by Beck Rollins.
That's what I'm thinking.
And so if that happens,
my money's on Gina Carano. That's the name. She needs star power to justify that. To justify the money that she's gotten, she's got to fight somebody who like other people know.
Well, I hope it's Beck Rollins because that'll be a nice little rematch. Of course, Paige Van Zant beat Beck Rollins in the UFC, so this would be a cool rematch with no gloves, just knuckles, and we'll see if Paige Van Zant can get that illustrious 0-2.
And Beck Rollins is she's also on the roster for BKFC as well. Oh my
Correct.
God.
Correct. Now, hey, just a shout out. We might be able to get Britton Hart on the show. I reached out to her. She is open to coming on the show, doing an interview. Perhaps we could do it live here one Monday night, or we'll do an interview like we've done in the past. But Britton has responded to my inquiry, and we may be able to get her on the show. So super excited about that. Stay tuned, and we'll see if we can't find out what it was like to put them hands on Paige Van Zant's pretty face. Swell that eye up a little bit. All right, that is it. Oh, go ahead, Kelechi. I couldn't tell if that was
just
hand
a quick
up.
note.
Okay.
It's just a quick note of appreciation to the comment section because I see a couple of new faces in there too. Sonia, I appreciate your comments. We didn't hit that this time around, but we got you next time.
All right, here we go we got a fight card this weekend. Let's go talk about it. This is the fight card. All right. This is UFC Vegas 20 Rozenstruik versus Gane, Saturday, February. I don't know why I always say September. Saturday, February 27th, 2021, the UFC Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have 6 fights on the card. Bruce Leroy Alex Caceres is fighting Kevin Kroom. Angela Hill was a late replacement to the card. She's fighting Ashley Yoder. We got Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera. That's going to be a good fight. Montana De La Rosa versus Mayra Bueno Silva. In the co-main event, we got Magomed Ankalev versus Nikita Krylov. And in the main event of the evening, we got Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Ciryl Gane. Now, it looks like Lepidolite's making his picks right now. We are not going to pick the whole card. I'm going to go ahead and pick the ones that I'm honor-bound to pick. So I do have Angela Hill over Ashley Yoder at 115 pounds.
He said honor bound, huh?
I'm honor bound to pick her now because I swore I'd never pick against.
Yeah. How'd that work?
Yeah, well, I did pick against her against Tisha Torres, but let's not go back. By the way, I have to do this because I got away with it, and this is far enough now for me to have gotten away with it that to do this makes me feel good. I'm the only guy that picked Gilbert Burns to beat Kamaru Usman. Remember that?
That's not true. That can't be true.
No, you picked Kamaru Usman.
You're right.
You're honor bound. You're honor bound to pick Kamaru Usman. Let's like.
You're right.
You got to get So I had to. Nobody called me out for the crow. I'm the only one who picked it.
Instinctually, I assumed the crow was for me. That's what the pushback was. Like, hold on.
All right, so let's go with the co-main and the main. We got Magomed Ankalaev versus Nikita Krylov. We'll start with you, Coach. Who you got?
I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna go with Nikita Krylov on this one. I think the experience he has is just gonna overwhelm Magomed.
All right. Kelechi.
I don't want to Magomed, so I'm gonna pick Magomed.
All right. John Keys.
I'm gonna follow the coach on this one. I'm gonna pick Krylov.
Okay.
You're gonna cry.
All right. I'm gonna go with Krylov as well. So it looks like KC, you and we'll put Lepidolite's picks on wax. So that way he is now on record of having picked Magomed Ankalaev. All right, and in the main event of the evening, we've got Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Ciryl Gane. John Keys, who you got?
You would come to me first, man. That's a lot of beef in that ring right at that moment, man. And if they put Herb Dean in there with it, that means it's gonna be some for real violence. I'll take Rozenstruik.
All right.
I'll take Rozenstruik by first round. First round KO.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna last too long. Those guys are gonna
don't blink on this one.
Kelechi.
I gotta go Rozenstruik on this one.
All right. Coach?
I'm rolling with Jairzinho Rozenstruik as well.
All right. Je parle français. I'm going with Ciryl Gane. I think he's coming up. So I don't typically pick the Frenchman, but I'm going to on this one. And we'll also record Lepidolite, who picked Gane as well. All right. Last thing before we go, I'd like for you guys to help join me in singing Happy Birthday on a count of 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Colby Covington.
I hate you.
I'm gonna find out where Ryan
I kept wondering,
lives.
like, what are we doing right now?
Okay.
Just viscerally,
I feel dirty now. Okay, I feel really dirty
today. That was well played.
You know, I'm starting low calorie this week, and you really did that to me. Okay, so my nerves are bad now. Yeah. I hate it here. Okay.
I'm tired of this show.
Oh yes. All right. Follow us on social media on Instagram. I'm at Combat Sports Talk. Hey, Coach, you go first this time.
I'm at Darkside _Muay Thai _.
All right, Kelechi.
I am at Push Pull Pray on Instagram.
And John Keys.
I'm at Keys to Victory
with an ES.
Yeah.
With an ES.
All right. You can find us on our website at www.combatsportstalk.com. We are on all your favorite podcasting.
You can find us on colbycovington.com.
Yeah. You can find Ryan's face on colbycovington.com. All right.
Ryan got a subscription to his OnlyFans.
I know, right? You get that calendar yet? You know?
Oh man. That worked as beautifully as I imagined it. I am so
Ryan, you had me the entire time. I thought we were going to say happy birthday to Combat Sports Talk, like for being up and running for like 10 years or something. And then when you broke out the Colby Covington, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Nothing good will come of this. You know that, right?
Oh, man. Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, my goodness.
Shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, Bloody Elbow, and the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group on Facebook. That is where a lot of these conversations happen. If you want to be a part of the conversation, get away from those casuals on those other boards and join us on Facebook, the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group. Those are where we get the stories for the show. So, on behalf of George G. Money Stallworth, Kelechi KC Onyebuchi, John the Keys to Victory Keys, my name is Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you next time.